So the subject is the path of works, and we can start with life because life and works are so closely intertwined with each other. The different ways that we all have tried to understand life. Life is a journey, life is a song, life as a battlefield, life as a play, game, and finally life as a worship and adoration and service. Whichever way we look at it, it's a travel or a path through which we move on, at first blindly, not knowing where the goal is, not even knowing who put us in the car where we are traveling. But as we go through the process, quite naturally, some bit of awakening comes. We begin to, at least we try to understand, we want to figure out why we are where we are. So here we arrive at our first conclusions when we normally travel through the journey of life. A journey implies a goal, a journey implies a path, a journey implies a vehicle. So ordinarily, the path is whatever path is directed by whatever our highest conception of life is, our idea about life, our ideal of life. Unfortunately for most of us in the beginning, when I say most of us, I don't mean most of us here, but in general, the conception is life is meant to satisfy our desires, our longings. At a little step higher, it becomes to fulfill my ideas and ideals about life, whatever I conceive of, and so on and so forth. So that decides, we put a goal before us. Of course, very often the journey is quite apparently aimless because always there is something impelling us, and we go through life as it opens itself. And depending on the goal, we have the path which opens. And what is the vehicle? The vehicle is the body, and ordinarily the fuel that is used for driving this car or the energy is desire. And the driver is ordinarily the ignorant mind. In those days when there was neither GPS nor a very clear orientation about where to go and how to go, and we are driven. In fact, in the beginning, we don't even know, so we tell the driver, wherever you want to take us, you take us. Imagine that scenario where we are at the mercy of the driver who will take us wherever he wants to take us. It may look very strange, but this is how we lead life. We let the mind take over us and take us wherever it wants to. If we do this in our ordinary life, in a real event, we are traveling in a car and we sit and tell the driver, take me wherever you want to take me, it would look very strange. But this is how precisely we move through life, blindly as it is said. So yoga brings in this dimension that no, there is a clear goal which goes beyond the limits and frames of our present humanity. What does yoga say? Yoga says life is about progress, which is one thing which we can really see in life clearly. And this progress, yoga terms as concentrated evolution. This progress which takes place through many lives. We go back and we return, we again travel, so we travel through many vehicles break down, and there is something which is impelling us to progress. This is the minimum understanding about life, which makes life beautiful and worth living, that life is meant for progress. Now what does yoga do? Yoga makes this progress concentrated, that progress which will take place through many lives. Anyways, because that's how human beings are programmed. We are so programmed that whatever we may have in life, we cannot stop and be satisfied. As Shubhendra says, we may be satiated but not satisfied. We will keep on returning back as if in search of something. So we are programmed for evolution, and yoga makes this evolution concentrated. So how does it concentrate the progress or the evolution? By the very same energies which are given to us by life, which are normally spent in ordinary pursuits, the very same energies when we concentrate these energies and put it toward the goal that yoga asks us or demands of us, then it becomes concentrated evolution. So we can look at these aspects of our being which are given to us. There is mind, thought, some degree of intelligence, and then there is the heart of emotions, feelings, will, and of course we have several other aspects, but these are three main impellers of the journey. They are given to us, and ordinarily one or the other is active. Sometimes the mind is active, the thoughts are active, most of the time it is active. And if you observe its activity, 99% of the time it is a discursive activity which is drifting. The mother says, if we catch ourselves and ask, what were you thinking? She says, if I ask you, what were you thinking? Most of the time we won't know what were we thinking about. So this activity is taking place mechanically, habitually. It's drifting. So as a result of it, there is a dispersion of our mental energies. And so we get fatigued, and we have devised novel ways of drifting of the mind or focusing it and running from channel to channel. So in yoga, we concentrate the mind, meaning thereby instead of drifting, we pick up this mind and try to focus it on one single object, one single idea. Usually in yoga we pick up one idea, the highest idea, the greatest idea, the widest idea, and let the mind focus on that. Every time it goes, runs away, we catch it and bring it back. And in this process also there are two activities. One is we focus on a single idea till the idea ultimately reveals the truth behind it. For instance, that the divine is in all beings, divine is in creation, or on the idea of love, or on the idea of bliss. It could be a principle. And the other way, which is easier, is meditation. In meditation we pick up the same idea and let our thoughts run around it. So either which way, we teach the mind to concentrate. And when the mind concentrates, it's like in a same room. When we pack the energy, let's say the air which is in this room, if we pack it in a small container, it becomes very powerful because we are compressing all the molecules which are there into a smaller space. Here we don't make the space smaller, but we make lot of space empty, but the molecules are brought together. All our energies of the mind are concentrated on this single object. And when we do it, as a result of the power of this concentration is the basic thing in every yoga, in life itself. Suddenly the idea releases what is held within it. And when it releases, we are flooded with a completely new dimension of understanding life. A new kind of knowledge begins to pour in. A wide God knowledge pours in from above, as Sri Aurobindo says. Why? Because the mind is now, all the discursive activity is brought together and it's concentrating on that single object or idea. So if we take it with the analogy of journey of life, say a person is traveling in the car and he's closed his eyes and is contemplating. Suddenly he has this aha phenomena and he says, hold on, stops the driver. And he comes out of the car. He says, my job is over. So driver says, where do I go? I don't care where you go, it's your problem. I have reached where I wanted to reach. This is how traditionally we see in the path of jnana, or the traditional path of knowledge, where one stops the moment one realizes the self, and then one says, my job is over. What about work? The journey, the path, utility is over. But in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, it is not over, because while I may understand by the power of the idea, I may realize something very high and beautiful, I also need to understand what this world is about, why this journey, where is this journey going. So all that is known as the integral knowledge. So one is the knowledge of the self, and the other is how this self extends into this world and all its various becomings. The Gita speaks about it as beautifully in the God, as in his power of becoming. So we want to understand not only Krishna the player, but the play. And we want to play with him, not just say that, oh, this is so wonderful. And when he plays, he has these two modes of play. One is the Kurukshetra and the other is Vrindavan. So So basically, the path of knowledge traditionally stops with self-realization, but here it goes on until it has found God in everything and invaded all the fields with the divine consciousness. So here we see the utility of works, because how are we going to really, if we are so content with ourselves and our own self-realization, how are we going to find Him in nature and all these activities and works? So what about the path of love? The path of love is somebody who is traveling in the car. Again, we take the same analogy, wants to meet his beloved. Beloved is the divine. But then because he wants to meet the beloved, or rather even before that, as the yogis would say, and rightly so, that he whom we are seeking is seeking us. Somewhere the connection has been built and he is drawing us closer and closer, and we are in that intensity. We want to meet you, and a point comes when he comes. He doesn't wait for us to reach him, but he comes, and suddenly we have again the aha phenomena. Oh, you're here? We again ask the car, stop. My work is over. So again the driver asks, what about the journey, sir? Don't worry, what about the payment? My beloved will make the payment. And we merge in that. We see this in several stories of certain bhaktas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, many others who reach that state of exaltation where they find the divine by the power and intensity of love. Now here again we see concentration. How does it come into play? Ordinarily we seek this energy of love is again dispersed into 101 relatives and relativities. If you live in India, you understand what it means to have a discursive, the heart is tied to everyone and everything. And so it is concentrated on the one divine. And when it is concentrated on the one divine, that energy becomes intense till ultimately something opens, and as I said, one meets the beloved. But in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, again we can't stop here. We are not happy with one Krishna. There is a very nice line in one of the bhajans that I read. I will say in Hindi, then translate. It's in Bengali. Amar eke Krishna mon bhare na, ami anant Krishna dube chahe. I am not happy with one Krishna. I want to meet infinite Krishnas. So now it's not enough that I have found. But in this world, in every being, in every creature, in all the manifold, the wrestle and the clasp and the embrace of different people, I must discover the same divine. So again we see that we meet the beloved in Jnana Yoga, in Sri Aurobindo's, if I have to add, when we have that aha phenomena, that door of knowledge opens, we tell him, oh light, I don't want to merge into you, take me along. Now you guide. Up till now I have guided my mind as I have tried to concentrate, tried to find the way, but now you are there, you lead. So that becomes the path of traditional knowledge, extending into Sri Aurobindo's yoga, where works and knowledge come together. Now here again we see, when we meet the beloved, we don't come out of the car. We say, you please come into the car, and he will come. We go, why not? He will in fact say, this driver is no more necessary, I'll drive your car. That's how the divine charioteer works. He takes hold of the steering wheel, and then if the divine is the driver and we are seated next to him, who would ever want to come out of the car? We would rather say, drive eternally, wherever you want to take us. And then everything, even battlefield becomes his play, because when he is there with us, seated next to us, then even battlefield is a joy and a play. So this is where the traditional path of bhakti universalizes itself, because it discovers the deity in everything. And instead of coming out and merging, coming out of the creation and the journey and life, merging with the divine, we walk with the divine walks with us, and he takes the reins of the car. The reins is the steering wheel of the car, and he takes us along. What about the path of works? Here it is the will. So we have the thought, concentrating thought on a single idea, concentrating emotions on a single relation, manifold relation with the divine, father, mother, beloved, friend, everything he becomes. the heart opens, one day the door opens and we discover. But as I said, in Shabinda's yoga, we are not just happy with that. To find him in the temple, we want to find him even in the battlefield, we want to find him everywhere. Now what about the will? Again we see that will is also in a dispersed state. Will is the power to acquire, to achieve, to find whatever it is seeking. Will is the most important element, so important in human beings. It's hardly trained. Our whole education is so much, analytical mind centered. So will is hardly trained, and yet it is the one which is so indispensable in yoga. When somebody asks you, Arvindo, that you have such a praising his mind, it must have helped you tremendously in this yoga. He said, it is not the mind, it is the will. I had a very obstinate will. So this will is so important, which we tend to miss and we hardly train. So that's why one of the things that we see in the ashram life, I'm sure it applies here and everywhere, it should apply. First training is the training of will. And what is this training? One simple thing is regularity and punctuality. So this coming on time, one of the things was regularity and punctuality. And I have seen that this just practice of these two elements itself is like a training of the will. Why? Because if you have to reach or we have to do some activity, like if to see let's say, go to the dispensary at 8 o'clock. My mind may say nobody is going to come at 8 o'clock. It's okay, I can go 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later. But it's not about somebody coming or not coming. It's a work and I go there and sit. Maybe nobody will come, yet I sit there. Now for that, I have to work backwards. So the mind automatically, if I meet somebody on the way, what do? I can't start chatting. I can't start saying, okay, how are you? How's your daughter doing? How's your son doing? It's just not possible because I know, the will knows that this is a work which is given and this point one has to be there. So even while I am talking, my will is concentrated on the work that is to be done. So will and works are directly connected, but ordinarily this will is scattered in the fulfillment of desires. So when the will drives in ignorance, it tells the driver, take me there to that market because I'll get some nice dresses there, nothing against getting dresses or good dresses. Take me there, I'll get some nice food. Take me there, I'll get this. So again, we concentrate the will. So meaning thereby, instead of leading a life which is running at the mercy of desires and various attachments, I withdraw that energy and turn this will in the one direction, which is to find the divine or to serve the divine. When the will takes this is taken up by this particular urge, this aspiration that I want to serve the divine, there is no other goal. Then one day again, as a result of it, there is another opening at another level, and the knower of this world, the lover and beloved of our souls, comes to us as master of works. That's how Srila says. So all these paths will lead us to discovery of an aspect of the divine, and each of them is important. Knowledge aspect is there where we transcend everything, the world of senses, form, name. It's that state of wide, universal impersonality where we ultimately discover that that is the origin of things, all creation. And by love we discover that this entire creation is throbbing in its core with the pulsation of love, which is sustaining this creation. Because it's okay, creation has been, from knowledge it has emerged. By knowledge I mean that, secret, that consciousness and force which has built this universe, they are one and the same, but that consciousness which has created this universe is knowledge. We see knowledge everywhere hidden in creation. The ant has not read a book on itself. People write a book on how ants navigate, but they have the knowledge inside. Every creature, if we look at this creation, it's amazing, it's bursting with knowledge, it's an expression of knowledge. Knowledge here means that we try to find how it operates, but we don't know that knowledge which is hidden intrinsic to everything in creation. So when the doors of that knowledge open, then we see this creation, magnificent creation, and what a knowledge has gone into it, and then, as the Gita says, we are filled with wonder, ashcharyavat pashyati kasyadena. But then we wonder what is at the core, what is impelling this, and then we discover through the path of love, the heart which is throbbing in this universe, the heart of love. But then, why is it, where is it leading us? Where is it going? Which way it is direction? What is this love which is throbbing in the universe? Where is it leading us? Then we discover that it is leading us towards that which is the origin, that is delight. This is the basic paradigm of yoga, that it's not desire which has given birth to this creation, but delight. So what is delight creating? Several homes of delight. And I'll take one simple example of any group life, but let's say ordinarily in a family life, one has husband, wife, children, other members of the family. What is it actually? If we look at it this way or that way, ultimately it's to multiply the joy. There's a very interesting phrase in the Vedas, na ramate. It's like you don't enjoy being alone, so you want many. So there are many, though it is a human expression, but it is so true that it's about the multiplication of delight. So that love is multiplying that one delight in many forms, multiple forms. But how these forms are going to be built, and there we enter into really works. It is working to build homes for the delight, manifestations of delight, movements of delight, and we would like to participate in that whole, collaborate in this process, because if we don't collaborate in the process, then while we may find God away from this world, we will not find Him in the becoming, in this movement. This is the whole idea of the path of works. Path of works is ultimately to collaborate with this great movement that we call as the universe. This is the basic. So how does it proceed? First of all, what is work? Ordinarily when we talk about work, if people ask, what are you doing? So people say, I am a doctor or this. This is the ordinary understanding of work. But of course, when we talk about works in the sense of yoga, all outward going movement is works. Everything, our thought, feelings, will, impulsion, everything which is going outward is work. So that's why this is so much interconnected with our inner life, because what is inside will go into our works. There is a very interesting story which I read about. In ancient times, there were priests, there was a priestly class. I'm talking of India, everywhere it was there. So they were supposed to exercise it. Their life was supposed to be a life of extreme degree of discipline, self-discipline. They're meant to be so disciplined that they can't charge money from anyone. They have to get up at 3:30 and take a bath and do prayer. This was a life dedicated to simply a lot of self-mastery and self-discipline. So this man once loses his way somewhere. He errs, he stumbles. So there is a way that you can do some prashchit, repentance. So he does that. Then everybody says, now you have done this. He says, no, it's not complete. Why? Because inside still it is there. That attachment that I wanted to get rid of it, because of which I stumbled and deviated, that attachment is still inside. This external repentance is not enough. I need to work this out. And then of course the story is very beautiful because he transforms that attachment into love. But that's a different story altogether. But the point is that works are everything that is going out. So ordinarily when we see 9/10 of our activity is going out, except when we sleep. And in sleep also, unfortunately, we remain largely on the surface. For a moment we take a dip inside, and that's why we need long hours of sleep, and even then it's not very fruitful. So this 9/10 activity which is going out, how is it going to be useful if we have to find divine? Because ordinarily this is the conception, divine is inside us, in a subjective inner space. So outward going movement means it is rushing out. So how are we going to concentrate this energy which is rushing out into various activities? So the simple formula which is given is turn this service, turn this activity of the mind, of the heart, of the will, all the energies, movements of the hands, feet, everything. Turn this into service and worship of the divine. Then even this activity becomes not only a way to God realization, but into a great wide fulfillment. Because then we don't have to find a separate place to sit, separate process, a special technique. So there is a story in the Mahabharata where Draupadi makes a very interesting remark. She is going to meet Krishna and there is the Ashwamedh Yajna going on. It's a yajna done in it, people are, and everybody has to go there. And she meets Krishna and then she's waiting for him and then they will go. So they say, don't you think that by missing on the yajna you are losing your share of merits which you incur when you go for a yajna? She says, then you don't know the full truth. Draupadi says, what is the full truth? Each step we take on the journey, knowing that we are going to meet the divine, then it gives you the merit of 100 Ashwamedh Yajnas. Meaning thereby that it's one thing to go to a place of worship and sit, wanting some merits. It's quite another to undertake each step as if we are going to meet the divine and participate in that fulfillment. So this is how the path of works begins to proceed. All other fruits have to be renounced, including the merit that we are going to get from, let's say, that's how the Gita puts it. So what are these fruits that we covet when we work, when we act? There are outer fruits which are well known, rewards of money, position, wealth, position, name, fame, all these outer things. There are inner rewards. When we renounce these outer things, still the inner reward is there. And these inner rewards can be very subtle. I would like to dress in the way that I look as Swami. And if I pass by and people don't look at me and say, Swamiji, then it's like, oh, he doesn't know who I am. Swamiji must be revered. See how subtle these things can be. This, sometimes it could be just earning respect. Earning respect is something intrinsic. Wanting to be in a certain state or position of reverence, so many kinds of things. And we begin to change our life in a certain way. We begin to even put on an air, put on a show. As Shubindu says, duplicity, so sham. And all this takes us into a whole zone which is far away from the divine, even though outwardly we profess that we are seeking the divine. So there are inner rewards, and these inner rewards can go to a point where we want some, as Shri Krishna says, we worship God, we turn to Him for earthly benefits, for the satisfaction of desires. So that is the difference incidentally between religious life and spiritual life. In religious life we turn to God so that He can take care of my earthly needs. So God is at our disposal. He doesn't mind, He is very humble. He says, okay, you want me only for this. But in spiritual life that has to be renounced. So spiritual life is opens us to a completely new dimension altogether. In fact, if we are sincere about the spiritual life and we still try to have that relation with God, that He will always satisfy my desire, in the beginning He may, but later on He will say, I am going to change the rules of the game for you. Because you are not then anymore following your own true aspiration. And He may even start snatching away whatever little grain that we have, or the last straw we want to hold on to. So, when we take the path of works, the first practice is Nishkam Karma, without any care for the fruit. Now when it is said without an eye on the fruit, does it mean that I will do my work negligently? Shubindu says, no, in Uttar Pada speak, we see just one sentence. We have to do now the work with all the spirit of service, as a worship, as a dedication to the divine. Only thing is that whether we will get out of it success or failure, fortune or misfortune, that we have to renounce. Again, it doesn't mean I'll do it indifferently and carelessly. Shubindu says you have to do it with an eye on success. You have to do it well. But if it doesn't come, we have built a whole place, we want to make it beautiful. But on the last day, there is a storm and a cyclone and it's all demolished. Doesn't matter. We don't give up. We persevere. We persevere it 10,000 times because that is the will inside us. to do that. So this is the first thing, to renounce the fruits. The fruits may be to a liking, they may not be to a liking. The fruits may be success or failure, fortune, misfortune, all kinds of things may come. But every time, how do we know when this happens? We have to observe inside. When success comes and we say, oh, this is so nice, and people come and say, oh, congratulations, you have done a very good work. Because in yoga works we realize that there is no worker except nature. Nature is doing. Even the brain, the intelligence, everything has been built by nature. These instruments have been built by nature. So actually to take credit is basically even fundamentally it is not right, because whatever one has done, what has one done? Everything, energy, thought, everything is coming from that vast field of nature. So first thing is to renounce the fruit of desires. It is a very, very powerful practice. Sri Aurobindo says in the Essays on the Gita, and of course all of us who have walked the way can vouch for it, that even if this alone is practiced, it liberates us from. That's why the Gita says Swalpamasya Dharmasya. He says it's very difficult to follow all the things that I am telling you, but practice just this small little thing. And it is that no more I will do this work for satisfaction of any of my desire. Now these desires can be very subtle. A preferred idea, a preferred ideal, a preferred ideology, a preferred country, in various ways it will come. It keeps raising its level. Sometimes we want to see our idea realized for which we have lived, and probably on the deathbed, oh maybe before this. There are people sometimes who want their book to be released just before they are going to depart. Now all these have to be renounced completely, because all this will be like an illusion which is tying us down to the state of ignorance. So all must become a worship, and by the fact that it becomes a worship and service, it not only enhances the quality of the work, it enhances our own life in so many ways. Because when we work with the idea of worship and service, then divine doesn't follow monthly wages system. He gives us the wages instantly. It's the first instant reward policy. If ever one wants, it is with the divine. So let's say no, but we see that sometimes we have worked for God knows decades, but nothing happens. Well, the instant reward is not about that. Instant reward is that purpose for which the world was created, delight. So there is a very beautiful essay of Sri Aurobindo, the delight of works. If we are really doing it as a worship and service, we will see that there is an instant joy which springs up within us. That itself is a sign that we are on track. But if we are feeling frustrated, there are people who say, oh, I have been doing this for God, but it's not working. That means we are not doing it for God, but for the satisfaction of an egoistic idea. And since that is not getting fulfilled, I am getting frustrated. So all frustration, all sorrow is a sign that my GPS is not working right. We need to recenter it. The act is to be dedicated to Him. When it will be fulfilled, if at all it will be fulfilled, whether He wants to give the crown to somebody else, that doesn't matter. And there is a very nice little example from everyday life that I love to contemplate. That now we see so many trees in Auroville and several places when you go. Now, who were the hands that tilled the soil? Some hands that tilled the soil. Some brought the seeds, some planted it, some watered it, and some are keeping the benefit of the shade, the fruits and the flowers. So all these, if we really look at on a larger scale, we will see that the hands that tilled the soil were moved by that one who had already planned for the result after 50 years. Those who went into, let's say, digging the Matri Mandir, the one who gave the idea is the same. The one who gave the energy and thought to the motivation to those hands which went on tilling the soil, knowing that probably we'll never see the completion, it's the same one. And those who saw the construction and finally completion and those who enter it, just that one consciousness. So if we really live truly like that, then we will see that there are no two. This work will take us to that height of discovering that oneness not only within us but in this entire creation. So much so that one discovered that even those who oppose the plan, see, it's a very powerful experience, a supramental experience of Sri Aurobindo, that he sees that the Lord, the immanent divine, the inhabitant of all creatures, is not only in the lawyer who is pleading my case, but the one who is opposing it. Now, why this is important is because sometimes we feel if there is an opposition to what I am doing, that means it's not God's will. And the mother says, if you take that approach, you will land up in the hands of the hostiles. We have to follow that inner urge within us. It doesn't matter. 10,000 times it doesn't work out. Still, if deep within me is this aspiration, I must follow it. It's not about whether, but if I'm doing it for a particular result, then I'll say, oh, there is an obstacle. Maybe mother doesn't want it. That most convenient thing. Mother wants it or doesn't want it, you have to feel inside your heart. Maybe in your whole life it doesn't get fulfilled, and yet one has prepared the ground for some later fulfillment. That's how when people say that, oh, I am too old now, I don't know whether I'll see the supramental creature or not. So the answer is, don't worry, all of us will come back. And how does it matter? Who will see the fulfillment? Look at how mother says, how does it matter? Which body? Because all is one body. So it becomes wider and wider as we proceed. So Nishkam Karma can lead us to very, very great depths and heights and wideness if we just practice this one thing. Because why would we then work at all when we are not coveting the fruit? Only the spirit of serving God. So all our thoughts and emotions will begin to turn toward the divine automatically. And as they turn toward the divine, God knowledge will pour in. What is the test that one is proceeding rightly along the path? Sri Aurobindo says, equanimity. Fundamental thing. In yoga of knowledge, it's not required. Why? Because you are not interacting with the world. It's all within you. Yoga of bhakti, traditional yoga of knowledge, not Sri Aurobindo yoga. Traditional yoga of bhakti, you don't need equanimity. You are just, if you don't meet him, you are saying, you are just too bad, you are not coming at my call, all this. You are not again dealing with this world, you are just cutting yourself off from it. But in works, equanimity is a fundamental practice. Because all the time as we move through life, we will be either lured or we will meet with obstacles, oppositions, all kinds of things will happen. And we have to go through life in a state of equanimity. Sometime when we are working, conditions may be totally not conducive at all. There may be heavy rains, and see, these are basic trainings. And when we look at the life of those who have gone before us, the work may be something very small apparently. Remember this Krishna Prem, Roland Nixon, he was cleaning the kitchen. Those days in Indian households, you had to clean the kitchen very meticulously. There are a lot of things around cleanliness. Out of cleanliness, too much. But only thing is the dirt used to be thrown later on outside because there was no good municipal system. But house had to be cleaned meticulously. Even now you will see Tamil women making kolam outside after cleaning the house. So, there was a lot of energy which was going on into this activity. Cleaning. So Roland Nixon is cleaning the kitchen because he has come to India. He was a British, mathematician, and after many years somebody came to meet him. He was named Krishna Prem. So he looked at him doing all this. He said, do you think this way you are going to achieve your goal? You are going to find the divine this way? And he made a very interesting remark. He said, those who have gone before me have gone this way. So this idea, it's a big work. Lecturing is a big work. But washing utensils is not a big work. Or alternatively, ego can play many games. Oh, this fellow, he only lectures. I sweep the floors every day getting up at 4 o'clock. Ego is such a, It can work the other way. So one has to be so careful. One little door, trap door is open and it will come. So all this idea of big work, small work, and Sri Aurobindo gives an example that when we really look at the divine pouring himself into creation, samam brahmam. So he pours himself equally in everything. The hand that sent Jupiter spinning through heaven spends all its cunning to fashion a curve. So if that be the case, how am I to choose the work? Okay, I do this work with an equal heart, equal mind, regardless of praise or blame, anything. So how do I then choose the work? This is a big challenge. Now, when physically the mother would give us the work, it was very simple, though not so simple also, because the story of Rishabh Chand, which often I recount, so he was a Jain, our Mayadi's father. Very, he has written such a wonderful book, Sri Aurobindo, his life unique. So he was a Jain, and he comes and says, Mother, whatever work you will give me, I will take it and accept. So the mother gave him work in furniture department. He said, oh, wonderful. He was a very intellectual person with a very good sense of understanding things. Yes, mother, I will do it very happily. And he's going to write a letter of gratitude to mother. And meanwhile, mother sends a chit. First assignment is kill the bugs which are inside the cots. Now, killing the bugs is an anathema to a Jain. You can't kill the bug, you can't kill anything. So he keeps that letter aside, writes to Sri Aurobindo now. I think mother does not know about that I am a Jain and I am not supposed to kill. And Sri Aurobindo's reply, whatever work the mother gives is meant for your progress, do it with that attitude. Of course, he rose to what heights. This is how they have shown the way. Ravindraji, who is a pure vegetarian, whatever it means, so he is given the task of egg distribution. And the mother once says, he met somebody on the, see all these ideas and idealisms, how they can come in the way. So mother says, I met someone who said, I am ready to do whatever God wants me to do. Except that I will never lift a sword. But I know he will never ask me to do it. And the mother asked him, how do you know? So surely. The entire Gita is there. Any idea, however high and exalted, it does not mean that indiscriminately we become sword brandishing idiots. No, it doesn't mean that. But to be so surrendered to his will, that even if there is something which is according to my idea, see, that's why people can't understand even Buddha or Sri Aurobindo. Recently somebody released a book on the unsung tale of, Mrilani Devi. That's a very human way of looking at it. But the divine way is that, well, Sri Aurobindo, in fact, he says, I am no more in my hands. He writes to her, what can I do? I have to go where he takes me. He is not going with a mental idea, I have to work for that, I have to give a great yoga, become a great guru, and become, the number one mystic. He doesn't do any of these things. I have to discover a yoga of transformation. You don't know how important work I am doing. He doesn't do anything of that kind. He says, I am surrendered to the divine. Whatever he asks me, I have to do that. My life is no more mine. And he says, I believe that all that he has given to me, I have been using it 14 annas for myself and only giving 2 annas to God. This must change. So one day he has a command and he comes. It's not that he abandoned this or that. This is our mental way of understanding. What about those who are left behind? I think they could not have had a better fate. If you ask me, imagine to be just married to Sri Aurobindo. I want these human thinkers to understand the significance of what this means. To be wedded to Sri Aurobindo, even for a day, even for the sake of wedding, that my life is tied to Sri Aurobindo. What does it mean? It means he will never forget it. And that's what we see in Sri Aurobindo 1918 when she leaves the body, when they come to know about it. he comes to know about it. What does he say? That where I have loved once, I cease not from loving. So, see, this is how the yogi resolves all the inner dilemmas. He is moved by the will of God. There will be conflicting elements. Now, what is that conflicting element? Duty. So, in the Western context, in modern thinkers like even Bankim Chand and these people, they have turned the path of works into a doing your duties. But duty is a very moral and a mental concept which has its meaning when we are leading a life of ignorance. But it completely loses its value when one turns to the divine. Sri Ramakrishna, or rather Swami Vivekananda, by suddenly leaving, he did not leave anyone, but by turning towards what he felt deep within, this will of the divine inside him, and went around the world, he was neglecting his duty but fulfilling God's will, which is what creation is meant for. And when one person does it, it automatically radiates its influence on all that is around. It's a very powerful thing. As I said, even if outwardly there is a challenge and there is a suffering, outwardly it is a purifying suffering. So even this idea of duty, so what will choose? How will choose the work? When mother physically gives the work, fine. There is second way to look at it. Let's say one enters into this field like Auroville and Ashram, which are special places. Why? Because they are special formation. There is no doubt about it that this is different from, let's say, a government corporate organization outside. Definitely. It's a formation by the mother. So if one enters and a work is given by whoever is supposed to assign a work, one can take it that, well, this is the work she wants me to do, and do it entirely with courage. So the preferences, I remember once passingly how these things can percolate. I was coming from Ashram to Auroville, I had just arrived in Bharat Nivas, there was a talk organized, I had to also come. So I was sitting in the car with, sharing it with a few others, and they naturally, when I knew like Murga comes, oh, you have come from where, after asking background. So they asked me that, so where are you working? I said, I have not yet decided. I know. If you go, they will just send you to the dining room in a very condescending way. Then I wondered, is this the right company? What's wrong with dining room? I mean, if there is, whatever it be the work which is given, that work becomes the means. See, with Niruddha, he was sent to the timber godown. I've shared this into the marbling department, where I learned all about colors and selling saris, which I could never learn about saris and colors after so many years of married life. The mother taught me in a few months. Learn to look at colors. Learn to appreciate colors. It's so beautiful. So there is this whole our world of ideas. So people often wonder when we read somebody like, let's say, Jiddu Krishnamurti, oh, how these formations and all these systems, they collapse, and you're freed from all these mental systems in which you work. You can do the same thing through works in a very powerful way. Because even this idea that they are collapsing, they are gone. Why? Because when a Jnana Yogi collapses them, then he enters into a void, a vacant blank, which is called as freedom, liberation of intelligence, universal intelligence, call it whatever. But here we discover within this universal intelligence the will of the divine operating in creation. That unfortunately he misses. And to that, when we add that why? For the love of the divine, then we discover that not only there is this will, so in this consciousness we get the knowledge in the traditional path of knowledge by which we get freed of this. This is a method, we all know it, and nirvanic silence. But when we take the path of works, then we discover something beyond nirvana. The will in the void, which is shaping this world of events, circumstances, forms, and all becomes a disclosure of the divine in manifold ways, including that which seems to oppose the will, yet fulfills the will mysteriously. So all this is a greater realization. That's why there's a whole chapter dedicated in essays on the Gita, Nirvana and the works in the world. Otherwise, in the traditional yoga, Nirvana is the end. Here, nirvana is the beginning. Why? Because now I do the works truly. What does nirvana mean? No more my desires, my mental ideas, constructions, systems, philosophies, religion, ideologies, all are smashed. None of this is impelling me. So there is a void, full of peace and silence of the eternal. And in this peace and silence, the will, eternal will manifests. It breaks in such a, in fact, it's much faster. When one practices karma yoga in the true sense, the nirvana comes much faster. And the beauty is it doesn't tell you to withdraw from work, because see, that liberation is incomplete where you enter into the world and you are bound again. So the sannyasis withdraw. But here, in this nirvana which comes through works, one is never bound. Even in this world, one is as much manifesting that will. And finally, as a result of all this, one discovers that love. Why? Because when we serve the divine, worship the divine, adore the divine in every which way, not just through these ritualistic acts, but in every which way, in the smallest of activities, seemingly what may be called as the most menial of actions. And yet when we love him, who else will, can he stay far away? So we discovered that love, all God directed. So these are the three things in the yoga works. One is to turn the mind inward and upward rather than this discursive intellect which is all the time engaged in this world of in a meaningless activity, driven by desire, like a yantra rudini, as if on the wheel, like a fly on the wheel. So when this turns inward and upward, it seeks to, the yoga work seeks to know the will of God. And what helps in this turning is nishkam karma. Because that is what is binding us. This attachment, this fulfillment, this particular success, this reward, or fear of failure, all the reverse, losing a particular attachment, all this is binding us. When we turn it inward and upward, then a separation takes place between the outer activity and the inner being. Then we begin to truly grow. The second step is doing all works as a sacrifice to the divine. So this sacrifice is not about offering our hairs in Tirupati. That is very easy. So, but actually hairs are a symbol of inconscient, old nature. So, but actually it is sacrifice of all that we do into a great fire of aspiration. And when we do it, what happens? What needs to be destroyed is destroyed. What can be purified is purified. So sacrifice is about sacrament. It makes something refined, luminous. When we sacrifice our thoughts, meaning thereby all thoughts which are running here and there, I turn them toward the divine. So afterward, the power of thought, new capacities of thinking, new ways of cognition, intuition, all this begins to awaken. Simply because instead of letting these thoughts run in all kinds of WhatsApp university, these thoughts turn towards the divine. Similarly, sacrifice of our feelings. Instead of all these ignorant forms of attachment, when it turns toward the divine. Does it mean renouncing people in our life? No. In fact, it improves the relation. Why? Because when a husband starts regarding his wife, I am taking one example because it's the most extreme, that you are Devi. And the wife also regards. In India, it's like was instilled long back. Pati Devta, I don't know whoever made it. But you have to now set the balance right. Devi. When they both regard each other as nothing else but the divine who has become this and come in our life, they too are forms of the divine. They too are aspects of the divine. The child, not because my child must fulfill my desires, wishes, ambitions, must go to school, get a good degree. When we get rid of all this and understand the child is here for the blossoming in his own way, at his own time, at his own pace, and he has come to me and I am a trustee of the divine, and the divine is in him, then life will be so beautiful. There will be all these arguments and pushing and all this will go away. So it is the one-stop shopper. So it makes life so beautiful. So everything will grow delightful. So that's why a yogin who follows the path of works and loves this creation as if means because the divine is there. What happens in him? Maitri Karuna Evascha. Even when he fights, there is no enmity, there is no hatred, because he knows it's a play, it's this fight, I am required to oppose this fellow, because within me this is the will. And within him there may be another will, I am not bothered about it, I am not here to judge him. But within me this is the will, and I must do that will based on this which is arriving within me. But I must be sure that it is the divine will, and if we get rid of all our preferences, viewpoints, opinions, and through the practice of Karma Yoga we enter into a state of inner peace, then we will see that we will be able to recognize the divine will. It can come as a deep inspiration that seizes and takes hold of us. It may take as an imperative something which has to be done. Maybe to write a letter, maybe to act in a certain way, maybe to speak a few words. Whatever it be, we just follow it because inwardly. And it goes without disturbing the peace inside. All disturbance, restlessness is a sign that my yoga is not complete. Doesn't mean that I am not practicing. It means it's not complete. So one goes back and looks at that part. What is creating the disturbance and restlessness? All deviation from equality is a sign. Oh, somebody said this to me, I am disturbed. Oh, I did this with so much love and dedication, but it didn't work out. So all that restlessness is a sign where one has to keep working upon it. So this is the great royal road, because in this particular yoga, there is no, in the yoga path of works, there is no need for a specially sitting meditation. It doesn't mean no meditation. Because very often people take it like, it means turning life into a meditation. It's not needed to specifically do these kind of traditional worship, but it doesn't mean no worship, no adoration. Why? Because our life becomes a worship. Our life becomes an adoration of the divine. And it doesn't mean doing some special activities which are God-oriented, that is work in the department in the ashram context, and rest of the life is fun fact. This division goes away because everything, all our outer work, all our relationship, all the inner movements, sleep, eating, walking, everything turns into a beautiful song or a hymn dedicated to the eternal. So this and so much more, and one last word, all this is still the yoga works as it has been extolled by Shri Krishna in the Gita. In Shodanda's yoga, it takes us one step further. So in that one step further, there are two things which are involved. We'll just touch upon that. And while in ordinary Karma Yoga, one has to be freed from egoism. This must be even the sattvic egoism. But yet the ego would be there, acting as an instrument. Arjun, you are the instrument. Sabyasachi, you are the instrument. One is still having that, the instrument and channel of God. But in the supramental yoga, the ego must vanish entirely. So there is such a union. The instrument channel all is gone. There is just one expressing, manifesting in million ways. Not only within, but in this entire creation. In the blooming of a rose, in the new bud which is coming, in the meteor shining in the sky, in the rocket going to the moon and whatnot. One sees in every burst of activity that divine who is within, without, everywhere. It becomes the one divine. In the true sense we understand the Ishopanishad. Taje tade jati tanne jati tatture taduvantike. He is outside, he is within, he is above, he is below. And then what can one say about the difference? All differences ceases to be. So that is complete vanishing of the ego for the supramental yoga. And second thing about the supramental yoga works, divine works, is these things are similar, they have to be practiced. That even the instruments have to be upgraded. Why? Because the supramental yoga of divine works, it's no more the ordinary nature which will drive us, but inwardly we will be free. That is what the yoga of Gita leads us to. Jivan Mukta. But here the instruments have to be impelled by the divine Shakti, no more by the three gunas, three currents of nature. Now, being impelled by the divine Shakti means the mind may be blown into 1,000 pieces when that Shakti operates. Where is the mind ready to reach? So wideness and suppleness of the mind. The heart, it may start doing TikTok because to tune the heart to that rhythm and invasion of divine love and sweetness. Mother describes all these experiences. They are mind-boggling. The very body, when she comes streaming inside, the body may shake, shiver. So in supramental yoga, the instruments have to be also upgraded, which is done by the same process, except that there is this new aspiration, and that process is constant remembrance and offering. This is how the yoga proceeds, a state of constant inner remembrance. Initially this remembrance may be mechanical, forced, oh I forgot to say ma, ma, ma. So inner remembrance. After some time it becomes the way of life. One doesn't have to keep on forcibly saying, because they becoming so much close to her that one has to, just as Shubhendu says, just take a step behind and you see that you are in the hands of the Divine Mother. We don't have to call. There is such an intimacy that you just turn Mama and she's there. So inner remembrance and offering all that happens, all that comes without qualifying it good, bad. In fact, good and bad prevents offering. Oh, this is bad, I am so bad. There is not good and bad. It's about things which take me close to the divine and things which keep me away from the divine. There is no other good and bad from the yogic point of view. A thing which may be very good from the worldly point of view may be bad from the yogic point of view because it's becoming a veil. And a thing which may seem bad, as I said, Buddha's renunciation, Shiva Auroville from the worldly point of view is very good from the yoga point of view. So all these ideas have to be renounced and offered as they arise. They will arise in the consciousness. They have to be offered to the Divine Mother constantly. So the path of yoga finally is the path of constant inner remembrance of the Divine, offering everything to the Divine, leading ultimately to these three types of union, 3 or 4 times, which will stop. Shubhendu speaks about them in different places. So one is Sayuchya Mukti. One becomes united with the Divine. That's where yoga word comes from. Yuj, to yoke, to become one. Then there is Salokya Mukti. One lives, dwells in the same status as the Divine. So even when one is in hell, one is experiencing Ananda. Why? Because Salokya. He is dwelling in the same status. That's why the Gita says, somebody who is remembering me, you must know that he is, regardless of whoever he was, maybe one day before, you must treat him as a great sage and a saint, because a special, I don't abandon him and he never leaves me. So the Gita speaks about it. So because he lives in, his status becomes the same as that of the Divine. Samipya Mukti. All the time the Divine is near us. Be it Kurukshetra, be it the battlefield, be it the densest darkness. We know that he is near us. Why? Because Samipya Mukti. And as a result of these 3, it leads us to Sadrisya Mukti, also known as Sadharma Gati. Our nature begins to become same with the nature of the Divine. So all the divine elements of the divine supernature, if you want to call it, begin to manifest in our human nature. And that's how life is transformed. It grows beautiful and fulfills the purpose for which creation is made. Delight within, delight around, delight in everything. The ultimate goal of existence. Thank you so much.